Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October. I hope you are well. I'm using the Crow Tarot for you today, so let's get straight on with this and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Gemini, please? Whoa, 2 come out in quick succession there. So we'll take them together. We have the 5 of Wands and the 4 of Swords. Current energy, please, for Gemini. Again, right, I'm going to take the first 2 that came out. We've got the Devil and we've got the King of Wands right there. Devil is Capricorn energy. The King of Wands is Leo. And what's coming towards Gemini, please, in October? Jumpers, please. What's coming towards Gemini? Whoa, we have the Sun. Beautiful. We've got the Page of Wands at the bottom of the deck, and the Sun is Leo energy too. I want to point that out. But there's a process going on here. And I wonder if Mercury retrograde has actually been pretty good for you in terms of showing you what has left you feeling restricted and trapped. You know, those things that that form obstacles in our way, and sometimes we don't notice that the originating point is within us. I think there's something here quite clearly about you having recognized that and doing something to move through it. But let's get some clarifiers and see what else we can pick up here. Tell me about this 5 of Wands and 4 of Swords, please. We have the Judgment card. Oh, we have the 2 of Wands and we have the 8 of Wands all showing up together. There they are. Tell me about the Devil and the King of Wands, please. 10 of Wands, the Devil again, and the King of Wands again. Wow. Okay. That's astonishing. Statistically exceedingly improbable. Tell me about the Sun. Thank you. We have the Knight of Wands. Lots of wands here, Gemini. Mars, and the 8 of Pentacles. Right. Ace of Pentacles is at the bottom of the deck. I love this for you, Gemini, because although you are an air sign, and so, you know, the appearance of a lot of swords wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for you, where it would be, you know, difficult for, say, a water sign. There's only one swords card here on the table. There's only one air element, and it is the 4 of Swords. And that feels very peaceful to me. It feels like you making your peace with something, or at least taking a step back from a situation. As I'm saying that feels more likely. Taking a step back from a situation and viewing it objectively. But everything else here is almost Wands. 5 of Wands, 2 of Wands, 8 of Wands, 10 of Wands, King of Wands twice, and the Knight of Wands. It's all circulating around the activity that you are engaged in at the moment, what you are actually doing in your day-to-day to change a situation. And I do think that change is on the cards here for you. You know, excuse the pun. Let's put it here. So let's start down here. We've got the 5 of Wands and we've got the 4 of Swords there. Now the 5 of Wands is a card indicative of some unstable energy, right? And where it's the Wands, 5 of Wands speaks of conflict. Now this can be active conflict with other people, you know, where we find ourselves in a somewhat in a state of friction with other people, where we think one thing and they think the other, or you know, we do one thing and they think we should be doing something else. But it can also speak to a state of internal conflict, right? Do I do this thing or do I do that? I don't know. Like it's kind of weighing up the options. Sometimes it's trying to do what you feel is the right thing, and yet it's seeming that the universe is kind of, or other people more specifically, are kind of trying to change your direction for you, yeah? And you end up sort of second guessing yourself. Am I doing the right thing here? You know, sometimes that state of spinning and not quite knowing which is the right direction can also be indicated by the 5 of Wands. But the point is, it's a pretty unstable energy. The fact that it's come out here with the 4 of Swords, I think is a recognition of the fact that possibly your judgment has been, up until this point, been somewhat compromised by something. Now, maybe it's because you've been too close to a situation. Possibly it is because you've been paying too much attention to perhaps what other people think about something. And this energy of spinning, and I actually feel my brain spinning as I'm trying to get these words out. This is why I'm kind of staggering over my words a little bit. Means that there's come a point with you where you've recognised the spinning, and you've gone, I'm too close to this situation. There's too much going on here. It's too chaotic for me to be able to work out what the next move is, and I'm going to take a step back, right? I'm going to take a little break from this. I'm going to let my objectivity return. And this, I think it was very well timed. It was actually indicative of some really good judgment from you in this case, Gemini. Is we've got the Judgment card, the Two of Wands, that Eight of Wands, and the Ten of there we go, and the Eight of Wands all together. The Ten of Wands is in the next set of cards. So we have Judgment, a card that can sometimes talk about the past, and being as we are currently, as I'm recording this, in Mercury retrograde, and this is your recent past, so it's certainly, the time preceding your viewing of this video. It could well speak to old situations kind of coming up, much like the resurrection of the people in these coffins here, right? For another go over. Is there something that you hadn't closed out properly? Is this what is making you feel conflicted? But it can also speak to your own personal judgment. And I think, given the fact that we've already spoken about judgment before we've even got to this card, I think that's it. It's like a recognition that your judgment has been in some way compromised by proximity to a situation, or by, perhaps overwhelming feelings involved in some sort of situation. And it's like, nah, I need to step back from this a little bit and make sure that what I am actually seeing is right, that I've got all of the information that I need, but that I'm not being unduly influenced. And I feel like this influence energy is quite strong here. A suspicion that you are being influenced in some way that you're not quite yet able to identify, but that is not, nevertheless there. It's interesting. It's sometimes, when you're balls deep in an intense situation, energies affect each other. Your energies affect other people, other people's energies affect you. And the more sensitive you are, and Gemini, generally speaking, you are a very sensitive sign, the more difficult it is to kind of find yourself in the middle of it. What I'm being shown here are two mirrors facing each other, right? And the reflection just going off into, absolute nothingness. There was this story I read about. What was it? Oh, dang my memory. I remember reading a story, and it had somebody in a room of mirrors, and they were trying to work out which was the true reflection. And then they realised that the reflection was never true. It was them. They were the centre point of this, and it was none of these, reflections that were bouncing off ad infinitum. That's the energy that I'm getting here, Gemini. It's almost like you realise that maybe you're reflecting back a lot of stuff, and that isn't actually what you feel at all. Or maybe you've just kind of lost yourself in this situation, and it's like, whoa, now I actually need to stop looking in the mirrors, and I need to look at myself here, remember who I am, and work out where I go from there. This Two of Wands and the Eight of Wands here. The Two of Wands is a crossroads energy. It's talking to, arriving at a point and realising that there is one route over another, and one route will take you one way, the other one will take you, obviously, the other. But it's kind of contemplating the consequences of going down either one of those roads. And I feel like you've been sucked down a particular route, and now you're sort of coming to, and you're like, well, hang on, shit, I'm halfway down this road and I didn't even consciously choose this, it's just sort of happened. I need to pull back from this. You know, might not need to go all the way back to the crossroads, but I certainly need to take a minute just to make sure that I am where I think I am, and I'm going where I think I'm going, where I want to go, because everything's just been a little bit overwhelming. Now, this Eight of Wands is an interesting card because it can speak to communication, and you know that can be a bit of a tricky thing to navigate during a Mercury retrograde. We often have people talking at cross purposes in this time, but it can also talk to momentum. You know, what we've got here with those 8 wands, it's in there, you know, they've reached their apogee and they're coming down again, they're coming into land. I just want to see which way around this is. Highlight 8 of Wands. We've got the Sun. Yeah, I feel like this is arriving at a conscious point where everything is suddenly a lot less confusing because you are looking at things as they are, right? Rather than allowing yourself to be dragged energetically down this route and almost kind of going down there on autopilot because you're being sucked in by the drama of a particular situation or, you know, intense feelings of something. It's that point of consciousness returning to yourself and going, "Whew, hang on." You know, the ones are this coming into land, like the realization that actually you're at a crossroads here. 3 of Swords is at the bottom of the deck, which is an interesting card because it makes me wonder if part of the reason why you've got sucked down the way that you have is because there's something that's been tapped into here in you that is a source of pain for you, and so you've kind of gone down this road because either you've been seeking to ameliorate your own pain or prevent pain being caused to other people. That's possible too. But it's almost like the consequences of it were something that kind of got glossed over at the point where you were making these moves on autopilot, and now you realize where you are. It's like, ooh, hold up, just a second, I need to slam the anchors on here. I need to really pay attention to what is in front of me, really in front of me, and not perhaps what I want to see. Because I feel like some of you have been dragged down a road of what you thought was there, almost like you filled in the gaps with your hopes and your dreams, and you haven't noticed that you did it. But when we come into your current energy, we've got the Devil and then we've got the King of Wands. Now, I actually like this combination here together with the cards that have preceded it. It could be a pretty dicey energy without getting to the point that you have done here, because the Devil obviously is that very toxic energy of being stuck and being trapped and whatnot. Ultimately, a place of fear is indicated when the Devil appears, because you're not working with all of the information, right? The Devil deals in illusions. That's what he does. To have the King of Wands next to him would be kind of firing yourself headlong into a situation that has been created by the illusions of the Devil. It isn't necessarily a reflection of reality, and you know, the King of Wands being that very active expression of fire energy, it's just like charging in there. Something a little bit more kind of more Knight of Wands-esque than necessarily the King of Wands. But because we have had the preceding cards, and because we had this little journey that you've already gone on, and we've kind of reached a point where we're like, hold up, there's something else going on here that I haven't seen. I like the fact that the King of Wands is here with the Devil, not once but twice. And I have to tell you, like, mathematically, that is a very fucking difficult thing to pull off like that. Probability, I wish I understood it a little bit better, but I'm pretty sure that the odds of that happening are pretty fucking low. We do have this 10 of Wands. Now, again, whole reading is about what you are actually doing. And I think with this 10 of Wands, you have realised that the consequences of going the way that you have been going, whether it is entirely on autopilot or because you have filled in gaps with what you wanted to see rather than what was there, are that you will end up making things very, very hard for yourself. I mean, perhaps the Ten of Wands is a recognition of the fact that you have already made things harder for yourself than necessarily you would have liked to have done. But, you know, the King of Wands is looking directly at the Devil. And it seems like you've realised that you cannot go on the way that you are going, right? There's that point of like, oh, stop, right there. And you seem to me to be taking a look at the situation as it actually is. And you're seeing the Devil. You're seeing the illusion. You're seeing where you have kind of, you know, trotted down a road without necessarily thinking about the consequences of it. Now, the Ten of Wands is a card of completion. It's a card of being an end, right? So often with the Ten of Wands, it's a card of a breaking point, and I think that you've stopped short of the breaking point, but you're certainly at a point where you've realised that this is unsustainable down this road. More than being unsustainable, it actually probably would take you somewhere that would be deeply unpleasant, that you don't want to go. Tell me about this Ten of Wands, please. We have the King of Wands and the Ace of Wands. So the King of Wands, this Leo energy, has shown up here now 3 times. Probability is starting to you know, expand exponentially. There's an opportunity here to put all the fucking wands down except the one that you actually need, and that's the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is new energy, right? It is doing something very, very differently. And I think that this pause has come at exactly the right time for you, because not only is the Devil and all his works revealed to you, there's also a sense of where you have perhaps even passively given away your power to an illusion. And the King of Wands is here to help you, you know, take an Ace of Wands, as he is depicted in all of these cards as holding in his hand, right there, and saying, halt, I need to actively do something very, very different at this point. Notice that the Justice card is at the bottom of the deck. Now, to have Justice and Judgment in the same reading, albeit they're not next to each other, they are still there, it gives the whole reading very karmic overtones. It's almost like whatever situation that you're in here at the moment, Gemini, like you haven't just blundered into it and fucked up and all that sort of thing, which is, I know, often how we feel when we realise that we've gone too far down a road that we never intended to go down. But more that this is a really big turning point for you personally. And almost like you had to get to this situation. You had to allow it to go too far, and you had to kind of pull it back a little bit, because it's giving you something that you didn't have, right? Definitely a level of insight into yourself and the way that you work, and also possibly the manipulations of others. You know, whenever the Devil turns up, you know, we have to take that into account as a possibility, whether it was, you know, utterly nefarious, or whether they've done exactly the same thing and just blundered headlong into it, you know. The Page of Swords is underneath the Justice card. And it's like there are connections that you can put together that you could not have put together had things not got to the point that they're at. And now they're at the point that they're at, you feel highly motivated, to me, to change everything. You know, it's beautiful when we have the Ten of Wands morphing into an Ace of Wands, because we have completion and we have new beginnings, and more than new beginnings, we have the pure potential of the whole wand suit right there. So something's ending and something is immediately beginning, and it's not just drifting in, it's being ushered in by this triple energy of the King of Wands here, saying, yes, it is time to do something very differently. I am motivated to do it. I am inspired to do it. And more than that, there's something deeply transformative about the situation for you, because it does have these really big karmic overtones. The meditation that I did before I started your reading was really intense. I was kind of like I get sometimes when I'm doing it. It's just really overwhelmed and kind of feeling a little bit sick. I mean, it's a really strong energy here. It's a turning point, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's a bigger one than I think that you initially realised when you decided that the Two of Wands was something that was in operation here. Oh, I'm actually at a crossroads. I do need to make a decision about this. There's something bigger at play. Something that will change you quite dramatically, I think. You know, let's not forget that that Ace of Wands isn't the only one ace that you have on the table. You also have the Ace of Pentacles. And, you know, the combination of the two together, I mean, sometimes that combination is the starting of a new business, right? Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. We've got, you know, the creation of something with the Pentacles that is designed to give you some sort of improvement in your finances or general material position. And then we have the Ace of Wands that's kind of driving behind it. And if you are setting up something new, then, you know, you do have to drive at it. These things don't just build themselves. But a different way to look at it is that you are employing the energy of these aces to completely overhaul your life in view of what you have just experienced. Now, whatever it is that you've just experienced, whatever it is that you found yourself kind of sucked into, it's going to be different for each of you. But thematically, I feel like the undercurrent is the same, right? It will express itself differently, but for some of you, this will be relationships and being kind of pulled into a relationship that actually isn't good for you, and you didn't see it because you were looking, maybe you saw all of the potential in the person that you were dealing with, rather than, you know, all the lovely red bunting that was decorating the environment. For others of you, it'll be different. It'll be something else. But this sense of you absolutely halting everything and then seeing the devil clearly, and further than that, being motivated to do something very, very different in light of it, is very, very strong. Now, when we move into October, we have the Sun. And I love this for you, because it is not only consciousness, you know, things being in your conscious mind that you are consciously contemplating, but it is also a card of great joy and vulnerability and all of that wonderful stuff. It's so positive. But it feels like it's a cleaner kind of positivity than the Sun that we saw back here, because the Sun that we saw back here was like, it was only seeing the good things. You know, it was perhaps, you know, falling in love with the potential of a situation rather than the reality of what it was. And I have to tell you, I have done exactly that in the past, and I swore to myself once that was over that I would never do that again, and I haven't done that again. It was a very karmic situation for me, and it changed the direction of my life. I found it very empowering, and I feel the same sort of thing for you here, because we've got this Knight of Wands and we've got the Eight of Pentacles. Now, the Knight of Wands could be considered in some way a kind of step down from the King of Wands, but I really don't think that it is. I mean, all of the action is taking place here, in the here and now for you. And there's a certain amount of maturity that is being asked of you in the tackling of this issue. But when we come here to the Knight of Wands, it actually feels like it's more of a much more present energy. So rather than looking at the potential of what could be if, you know, everything just worked out perfectly, it's a what's here right now. What can I do with what I have here right now? You know, there are no illusions here. Everything is illuminated under the light of the sun. And it's here with the Eight of Pentacles, right there. So it's where your effort needs to go from here on out, right? What it is that you need to achieve mastery over. I mean, perhaps it is mastery over the present, right? Maybe you've got some work to do to undo a bit of what you did already. Or maybe it is just that now the road forwards is clear to you. It's like, oh, I've been wasting all of my time on this over here, when actually it's been this thing that needed my attention the whole time. I see that now. What about this Knight of Wands? That's interesting. We have the Devil showing up again with the Seven of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles. That's outstanding, because we have the Six of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. We have that balance being brought back in. I mean, let's not forget that the Justice card does also talk about a restoring of balance, and certainly in your case where they have been tipped one way or the other. But your present energy, being able to see things as they are, means that you're seeing the Devil everywhere. You're seeing the potential for the Devil to weave illusions everywhere over you. And with this Seven of Wands, you are now in a position to be able to protect yourself from it. Right? It needs a conscious eye. And more than that, it needs you pulling away your consent to have the Devil interfere in your life in any sort of way. He has no power of his own. The only power he has is that which you give him, and he will weave illusions to make you hand it over or to coerce you, or persuade you to hand it over. But he has no real power of his own. So now that you see, it's almost like you can't unsee. Like, there's your protection, right? Because you've tuned your eye into what the Devil is doing and how it is showing up in your life. And maybe, in some ways, the Devil is you, right? Whatever's going on inside of you might be the Devil thing. Maybe you're seeing the things that aren't there, the things that you want to be there. Maybe in some ways this has acted as some sort of escapism for you, and now you're being forced to go back and look at your life and go, actually, I can see why why I was looking for things that weren't there. This has highlighted a part of me that is feeling quite wounded, and now's my chance to put that straight. Because you have the Nine of Pentacles there. The Eight of Pentacles is leading beautifully into the Nine of Pentacles. The hard work that you are putting in now is getting you to a place, certainly in October, where you are managing your resources a great deal better than you have been up until now. The Nine of Pentacles is a card of independence and self-sufficiency, but for me it is about good resource management, and all of your resources are pentacles. Not just your money, but your time and your care and your effort and your money and your love, and anything that you can invest is a pentacle. And when you have a Nine of Pentacles situation, it means there are no energy leaks. None of what you are capable of investing is bleeding out somewhere at the bottom, right? It's like you know where everything is and you can decide where it goes. I think October's an incredibly empowering month for you, Gemini. And it might be slightly bittersweet, because there might be that little sting of I can't believe I fucking didn't see that, But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's weighing you down too hard, because you see the point of it. And what you've been given by the situation, which is the ability to be able to see where the Devil is operating, and I mean that might even be self-sabotage, like I'm saying, means that you're treading much more carefully, much more consciously throughout the month of October. I think this is wonderful. So if this has resonated with you at all and you would like to go a little bit deeper, I am going over to Vimeo now to do an extended when we'll dive deeper into October. So you're welcome to join me over there. You can also, if you wish, join the Patreon community, and then you can see all of the extended content for no extra cost. But if neither of those are your bag, that's absolutely fine. Also, just know that this really isn't a time for kicking yourself. And if there's any kind of energy of kicking yourself that is kind of knocking around inside of you, focus it and turn it into the King of Wands. Right? Use it as fuel to change the situation that you are in, because October looks brilliant. You feel much more on top of everything in October than you have done so far. And the confirmation that you're on the right path, it feels, will be coming thick and fast. So I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.